doing?
I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm good. It's a little hot here, like this time of year in Egypt. How are
Okay.
you?
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Rila Shawa. I'm a 24-year-old medical, doctor in training. I'm about to graduate next year, and like I'm dabbling here and there in different things to build myself because the future is ahead of me. So basically, that's what defines me. I read a lot. Like I love reading. I have gotten out of it for the past few years because of school, but like I love reading and obviously music and everything else. And from the sports, I like to swim. Like
My first question for you it's which year is Egypt appeared in your information? I know it's really old country.
yeah. Well, I had to look it up because I don't like not knowing stuff. So as far as I'm aware, like the first settlements and stuff were around 3000 BC, but the Egyptian culture or the ancient Egyptian culture, I might say, was it extended along way back to 6000 BC in something they call the pre-dynastic era. So that's quite a lot of time.
Yeah, it's no, it's where it's too much. No, actually,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's really cool because you can see old countries, and it's every old country has amazing culture.
Yep. But keep in mind, like culture now is different than culture 150 years ago. It's different than culture way back when. So like things change obviously with time.
Yes, I agree. So next it will be three typical questions. What is the capital of Egypt?
It's Cairo.
What is the official language in Egypt?
It's Arabic, but we also teach English, French, and German in our schools. Like you have the option. Like Arabic is the main. Some schools teach English as a second language, and it's a must. And then you have an option of a third language, whether it's French or German.
What is the official currency in Egypt?
It's the Egyptian pound.
Next, what is the main religion in Egypt?
We have, I think we're predominantly Muslims, Sunni Muslims to be exact, and we have a large population also of Christians. And I don't know how much of us are Jews, but I'm assuming there are Jews because we have synagogues and stuff around too. So there are the three. The majority is Muslims, and then there's Christians, and then Jews, I guess, in that order. Like not in importance in like population percentage. I mean.
Okay, but before in Egypt were old gods like Ra, etc. So do you know people, or maybe there are some statistics, people who believe in old gods?
But I think it's very rare to find someone who does. I mean, obviously, you've got people other than the main religions. You've got people who might not believe at all. You've got people who might choose to be Buddhists, so on and so forth. But I've never met anyone who believes in Ra and Horus and Osiris and Isis and all those. Like, I've never met.
I read that the most favorite alcohol in Egypt is beer, like in another part of world. Do you drink alcohol, or how many people? Is it true that beer is a favorite drink in Egypt?
Well, that I will not know because, like, as Muslims, we're not supposed to drink. Some men, obviously, and some girls choose to drink. That's their decision. But I've never really been in a capacity with anyone who drinks, so I wouldn't know. Like, it's haram for Muslims.
Okay,
so I
but
wouldn't.
is it not true? Yes,
No, no,
Egyptians don't drink.
Not Egyptians. Like Muslims are not supposed to. Some Muslims do, and no judgment. But Christians drink. Other people drink it, but I don't know what they prefer because I've never really paid attention to it.
During the entire period of Egypt's existence, its name changed several times. So tell us about this period of this history. history period of your country? How many times changed the name of your country?
Okay, that was never taught in history, but I did look it up, for the sake of this. As like I got like 4 or 5 names that I know, dating like 2 of them were back in ancient times, and then some that were in the middle, and then you've got the rest that are like further down. The first they were like on the website I was looking for the stuff on. It said like Egypt had over 30 names, so I really don't know like. They didn't list them down, but one of the names was Kemet. They spelled it KMT, but we pronounce it, or they pronounce it on their website, like between brackets, as Kemet. And it literally means the Black Land. And someone told me, or like one of the, like, not someone told me, like the information on the website said that it could either mean the land of rich black soil because of the floods that happened would end up with something called tummy. Tummy is like the black fertile soil. And there's another name that came after it called Tamiru, which literally translates to beloved land. And something that's a little more like recent than that is Egyptos by the Greeks, which translated to Egypt. That's currently termed today. And you've got something called the Copt or Coptics, or that's also came after that. That's basically, if you look up what is the definition of Coptic, it'll tell you that this is like a term referred to Egyptians at a certain era. And it was also mentioned, like that name was also mentioned in the Quran. And you've got Misr and Masr. Like they're 2 different pronunciations for the same thing. So the official pronunciation is Misr, but slang language is Masr. And we're officially known as the Arab Republic of Egypt.
Okay.
So that's what I know about our names.
Next, it will be 6th question.
Mm-hmm.
In Egypt, the roofs of many houses are unfinished. Why are people doing this?
Okay. Keep in mind that the houses you're referring to are in areas known as the slums. Like my building is complete. The buildings that are in the major areas of the country are complete. But I think the reason, like I've never asked anyone, so I'm just assuming. But I'm assuming the reason why a lot of the roofs are unfinished is either one, they might build on top of it, so they leave it like that, or they didn't have enough funds, or that's like they didn't want to continue doing it. But keep in mind, the people who don't continue the roofing are relatively like the poorer population. Like the country doesn't build this, like people buy the land or they have the land and they build on top of it themselves. So they either ran out of funding or they don't want to continue or they want to build on top of it at a later date. I really don't know, but this is what I'm assuming.
Next question. Is it true that polygamy is allowed in Egypt? What do you think about it?
Polygamy is allowed in Egypt in a religious text. Like in Islam, mainly. I don't think this is allowed in Christianity or in, Judaism. In Islam, you're allowed up to 4 wives, and that's with a lot of conditions. Like you need to be able to make sure that you treat each and every one of them exactly the same. Like you can't spend more time with one than the other. You cannot spend more money on one than the other. And keep in mind, you cannot treat one set of children better or worse than the other. So, and that's there to avoid adultery, I guess. Like as far as I'm aware, it's like to avoid having marital relations outside of a marriage. So people sadly do not follow the terms of this. Like if, let's say I'm a man and I were to marry 2 women, if she has a house worth £50,000 alone, then that woman should also have this. If I get her clothes for this amount of money, she also has to have this. I can't get her diamonds and get her nothing. It has to be equal.
Oh, yes.
The same with the children, same with everything. But people sadly don't do this. Like people choose it as a way to get around the system, to have more relations, sadly sometimes. And it's not a must. Like let's say I'm married and my husband wants to do this and I don't agree. Then he's not supposed to do it. Like he could either divorce me and then marry her, or either choose whether or not he wants to marry the second one or not. But as far as I'm aware, like everyone has to be on like the same terms when he decides to get married. Like he can't marry another girl, or he's not supposed to be able to marry another girl unless I agree as well. And
Oh,
personally, if you want my opinion, I would not want to share. Like
okay.
that's just me. But some women are fine with it, and that's fine. It's not a pro or a con in that person's personality. But some people mind it, some people don't.
Why is it forbidden Egyptian to marry foreigners in Egypt?
But
What?
what do you mean by foreigners? Like non-Egyptians or non-Arabs?
Non-Egyptians.
I'm actually half Palestinian, half Egyptian, so it's not forbidden. And I know a lot of people that are married to even Europeans or Americans or Greeks or like
Oh,
it's
so
not
it's not
yeah,
true.
it's not forbidden. The only the thing that comes into context about forbidden is a Muslim girl cannot marry a non-Muslim man because the children in turn will become non-Muslim. Because generally speaking, on paper or even like with habits, the boy inherits mainly the father's identity. Like if he's Palestinian, he's mainly Palestinian. If he's Christian, then the child is Christian. You know what I mean? So a Muslim woman cannot marry a non-Muslim man, but a Muslim man could marry like a Christian or a Jew, but not a non-Abrahamic religion girl. Because again, the boy or the girl that's born is going to be Muslim in that sense, and they'll be like raised on these terms. But as Egyptians and non-Egyptians, there's no rule about this.
Why do men in Egypt wear white clothes and women black?
Okay, the way you phrase that question is as if we all wear white or black, but I'm wearing blue and like coral pink. So it's not a rule. It's like what you're referring to are more traditional outfits. And to some cultures, or not cultures, some socioeconomic levels, it's more present than others. I'm a middle class family, like I'm from a middle class family, and I wear regular clothes. That's how I was raised. Like I wear top, jeans, like obviously the scarf. If I want to wear dresses, if I want to wear skirts, if I want to wear like bright colors, I can. It's all about personal taste. But some people in lower socioeconomic levels, they wear the black abaya with cheaper material typically because it's cheaper and it's quick. Like they could wear anything underneath and they'll close it up and then they'll be at the door. And it's more efficient for them to get it. But that's not to say that the black outfit is purely cheap because you could get it for £100 and you could get it for 10,000 according to the material and how you get it done. And some of them are beautiful. Like I saw some in stores that are gorgeous and they're above £10,000. About the white clothes guys wear more commonly it's worn in like the rural areas where there are farmers and stuff like that. They wear it on an everyday basis. But when it comes to more traditional use of the outfit, you wear it to Friday prayers. Like it's more of a Muslim thing in this case too. Like my brother used to wear it when he was a child. When he'd go pray in the mosque on Fridays, he'd wear it because it's like considered our Sunday best, but on Friday mornings. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do local people think about the pyramids? How are they treated?
I think the main feeling about it is pride, but we don't think about it too much. You know, when something's there, like you get used to it. So a lot of Egyptians haven't visited it yet, even though it's like right there in Giza. Like I could see them sort of from afar from my room window, and I've only been there like 2-3 times. So people there's a measure of pride of being home to one of the greatest monuments on earth. And the way they treat it is we have like obviously a ministry that deals with what is it called? I forgot its name, but there's a ministry that deals with like the ancient artifacts and the museums and stuff like that. So they have like strict regulations where you cannot climb it. Like if you want to go up, you have like a few rocks that you could go up, and you cannot like go further. You could go inside, but you need to like keep it clean. And the area around it, sadly, is littered. Like they try as much as possible to limit the littering, but it's still there. And not only by Egyptians. Like I think tourists also do this, but we try to control it. And like typically it's treated with respect, kind of, but people usually use these things these days as a picture. Like, the reverence of such structures is lost with this generation, sadly, unless someone's particularly passionate. But how could you like they don't disrespect the structures, but the gravity of what it meant one day is lost, I guess, to this generation. But yeah.
So Egyptian like their history and like pyramids.
Yeah.
They proud.
Yeah, and they're proud of it. They're proud of it. Yes.
Yes. So my last question. I often meet with such a phrase. What is the secret of the things? You know? And what do you know about this? Do you pass the meanings of Egyptian sculptures in school?
About the Sphinx. Okay, the secret of the Sphinx, as far as I know, like the term that I heard, is they don't know why it's been there. Like, people usually assign the role of guardian to the Sphinx. Like, that's why it's next to so many temples, so on and so forth. But the secret of it, I don't know. Like, what I know is that its expression is more or less enigmatic. Like, it doesn't have like an angry expression or a happy. It's just enigmatic. It's like neutral. So they want to know what's behind it. I read about this also in preparation, but some people were mapping inside and out of the Sphinx. I read somewhere that one of the, I don't remember his name, but one of the European archaeologists came here and they were mapping it. They found a trail inside, but they're assuming that it was made by thieves that thought there was something there to be taken. But the secret itself, like, it's still debated on who built the Sphinx, or was it with the pyramids, or was it without? But you might also be referring to the secret of the Sphinx as in the riddle. There's actually a Greek myth on it, not an Egyptian one, in which you get to answer a riddle said to you by the Sphinx, and if you fail to answer it, you get eaten alive, and obviously you die. But I don't know which like myth you're talking about.
The latest question: what happened with his nose?
Okay, I don't know. Like, I heard, like, I didn't look this one up, but the stories I heard is either it's incomplete, or Napoleon broke it off, or it just got eroded with time. Or maybe when they were like cleaning up around it, because like, you know, the Sphinx was at some point with time and with like the changes in the weather and the winds and everything, it got buried with sand and only the head was showing. So they had to basically dig it up again. It could have been broken while they were digging it up, but I guess someone would have preserved it if that was the case. Or they'd never like finished it, or when they tried making it, they broke it off, or Napoleon broke it off himself because I don't know. Like, those are the stories I heard, but it's more like gossip and theories rather than facts.
Okay, I was so glad to speak with you. It was amazing. Thank you very much.
The same goes to you. Like, thank you so much for having me.